Long before Columbus ever set sail, powerful empires rose across the Americas, cities glittering with gold, temples touching the clouds, and knowledge that rivaled the greatest minds of the Old World. From the jungles of the Maya to the sun-blessed peaks of the Inca, ancient America was a world of gods, warriors, astronomers, and dreamers. This is the untold story of how the Aztecs and Incas built two of the most extraordinary civilizations in human history, and how their brilliance still shapes our world today. Long before the arrival of European explorers and the formation of modern nations, the vast lands of the American continent were home to thriving civilizations, each with its own identity, belief system, technological advancement, and social structure. From the snow-covered peaks of the Andes to the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, human ingenuity flourished across the Western Hemisphere. The story of ancient American civilizations is one of resilience, adaptation, and extraordinary creativity. Societies that built monumental cities, developed complex writing systems, and mastered agriculture in some of the world's most challenging environments. These civilizations did not emerge overnight. Rather, they were the result of thousands of years of human evolution, migration, and innovation. Understanding their rise allows us to appreciate the depth of human achievement in pre-Columbian times and how these ancient societies shaped the course of world history long before the first European ships touched American shores. The early inhabitants of the Americas. The roots of ancient American civilization stretch back tens of thousands of years to the first people who migrated from Asia into North America through the Bering Land Bridge. This bridge, known as Beringia, existed during the last ice age when sea levels were lower, exposing a land connection between Siberia and Alaska. These early hunter-gatherers, following herds of large animals like mammoths and bison, gradually spread southward, adapting to new environments as they went. Archaeological discoveries, such as those at Monteverde in Chile, Meadowcroft Rock Shelter in Pennsylvania, and Bluefish Caves in Canada, provide compelling evidence that humans occupied the Americas much earlier than once believed, perhaps as early as 15,000 to 20,000 years ago. Over time, as the Ice Age ended and climates shifted, these nomadic groups began to settle in more permanent communities. The development of agriculture was a turning point in their history. The domestication of plants such as maize, corn, beans, and squash in Mesoamerica, often called the Three Sisters, allowed people to produce a stable food supply, leading to population growth and the establishment of villages. Similarly, in South America, crops like potatoes, quinoa, and manioc supported emerging societies in the Andes and the Amazon basin. Agriculture not only transformed human diet and economy, but also laid the foundation for complex social and political structures. The birth of agricultural societies. Around 8000 BCE, early agricultural communities began to appear in regions that would later host some of the greatest civilizations in American history. Mesoamerica, which includes modern-day Mexico and Central America, became a cradle of early innovation. The people who lived there developed advanced techniques for crop cultivation, including terracing and irrigation, which enabled them to farm even in challenging terrains. This agricultural revolution allowed populations to expand rapidly and encouraged the growth of permanent settlements. One of the earliest known complex societies in Mesoamerica was the Olmec civilization, often regarded as the mother culture of later Mesoamerican societies. The Olmecs emerged around 1500 BCE along the Gulf Coast of present-day Mexico. Their influence extended far beyond their immediate region, shaping art, architecture, and religious practices that would persist for centuries. The Olmecs are best known for their colossal stone heads, each carved from massive basalt boulders, believed to represent rulers or important figures. These sculptures, some weighing over 20 tons, demonstrate the Olmecs' mastery of stonework and their highly organized social structure capable of mobilizing large labor forces. The Olmecs and the foundations of Mesoamerican civilization. The Olmec civilization played a vital role in setting the cultural template for future societies like the Maya and Aztec. They developed a hieroglyphic writing system, practiced ritual ball games, and built ceremonial centers such as San Lorenzo, La Venta, and Tres Zapotes.
These cities served as both religious and political hubs, reflecting the integration of spiritual belief with governance. The Olmecs worshipped a pantheon of gods, many associated with natural forces like rain, fertility, and maize. Among their most prominent deities was the jaguar god, symbolizing power and transformation, themes that would echo throughout later Mesoamerican mythologies. The Olmec legacy extended into trade and material culture as well. They established extensive trade networks that connected distant regions, exchanging goods such as jade, obsidian, and ceramics. Through these interactions, the Olmec cultural style, characterized by distinct art forms and iconography, spread widely. Archaeological findings reveal that their influence reached as far as the Valley of Mexico and the Pacific coast, making them one of the first truly regional powers in the Americas. When the Olmec civilization declined around 400 BCE, possibly due to environmental changes or internal conflict, it left behind a cultural blueprint that would inspire future civilizations. The rise of the Maya civilization. Following the decline of the Olmecs, new civilizations began to rise across Mesoamerica, drawing upon Olmec traditions while adding their own innovations. Among the most remarkable of these were the Maya, whose civilization reached extraordinary heights between 250 CE and 900 CE during the period known as the Classic Era. The Maya inhabited a vast region that covered parts of present-day Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. They were masters of astronomy, mathematics, and architecture, and they developed one of the most sophisticated writing systems in the ancient world. Maya cities such as Tikal, Copan, Palenque, and Calakmul stood as centers of political power and religious devotion. Each city was ruled by a powerful king, considered a divine intermediary between the gods and the people. These cities featured grand temples, pyramids, and observatories designed to align with celestial movements. The Maya calendar, an intricate system combining solar and ritual cycles, reflected their deep understanding of time and cosmic order. In fact, Maya astronomers could predict solar eclipses and track planetary movements with remarkable accuracy, rivaling the knowledge of Old World civilizations. Culturally, the Maya excelled in art, literature, and religion. Their inscriptions, preserved in stone monuments and codices, recount histories of kingship, warfare, and mythology. Religion permeated every aspect of Maya life, from agriculture to politics. Rituals involving offerings, music, and even human sacrifice were performed to appease the gods and ensure cosmic balance. Despite their intellectual and artistic brilliance, the Maya civilization eventually experienced decline due to factors like overpopulation, environmental degradation, and warfare, leading to the abandonment of many great cities by the 10th century. However, the Maya people never disappeared. Their descendants still inhabit the same regions, preserving elements of their ancient language and culture.
Civilization beyond Mesoamerica, the Andes and the Inca roots. While Mesoamerica was developing its own distinct cultural trajectory, another cradle of civilization was flourishing far to the south, in the Andean region of South America. The high mountain valleys and coastal plains of modern-day Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador nurtured some of the most remarkable societies of the ancient world. Early Andean civilizations, such as the Norte Chico, Caral, Chavin, and later the Nazca, Moche, and Tiahuanacu cultures, each contributed to the rise of the mighty Inca Empire centuries later. The Norte Chico civilization, centered around 3000 BCE on the Peruvian coast, is one of the oldest known urban societies in the Americas, roughly contemporaneous with ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. Unlike many other early civilizations, the Norte Chico people built monumental architecture without ceramics or extensive agricultural dependence on grains. Instead, they relied heavily on fishing and cotton production, demonstrating an alternative path to complexity. Their capital city, Caral, featured large pyramidal structures, plazas, and intricate irrigation systems, indicating advanced social organization and engineering.
Later, the Chavin culture, circa 900 to 200 BCE, became a unifying religious and artistic force in the Andes. The Chavin de Huantat temple complex, with its carved stone figures and intricate galleries, served as a major pilgrimage site that connected diverse Andean communities under shared spiritual beliefs. Chavin art, characterized by feline imagery and elaborate iconography, influenced subsequent cultures for centuries. Through religion, art, and trade, the Chavin helped lay the ideological and technological groundwork for the later rise of empires like the Inca. The foundations of civilization and the role of geography. Geography played a decisive role in shaping the character and success of ancient American civilizations. Unlike Eurasia, where large domesticated animals such as horses and oxen facilitated transport and agriculture, the Americas had few such species. As a result, American civilizations relied heavily on human labor, ingenuity, and adaptation to diverse ecological zones. The varied geography, from the dense rainforests of Central America to the high Andean plateaus, encouraged regional diversity and innovation. Mesoamerican farmers engineered chinampas, floating gardens, to cultivate crops in wetland areas, while Andean communities constructed terraces and canals to farm steep mountainsides. This environmental creativity allowed civilizations to thrive in regions where others might have perished. Trade and communication networks also played a crucial role in uniting distant cultures. Despite geographic barriers, goods such as obsidian, jade, feathers, and textiles circulated widely across the Americas. These exchanges facilitated not only economic interaction, but also the spread of ideas, artistic styles, and religious concepts, creating a shared cultural foundation that transcended political boundaries.
As the centuries passed, the early foundations laid by the Olmecs, the Chavin, and other pioneering cultures began to evolve into far more complex and organized societies across the Americas. The story of civilization in the New World entered a phase of immense growth and regional diversity. While Mesoamerica and the Andes became the two great cradles of high civilization, new centers of cultural development appeared throughout North and South America. These societies, though separated by vast distances and varied environments, shared one defining trait: their ability to adapt, innovate, and create enduring systems of governance, religion, and technology that would stand the test of time. The ancient Americans, without the wheel, large draft animals, or iron tools, built empires that rivaled those of the Old World in scale and sophistication. From the Great Pyramids of Teotihuacan to the intricate road systems of the Inca, their achievements reflect not only human ingenuity, but also the deep connection between culture and nature that characterized life in the pre-Columbian Americas. In Mesoamerica, the decline of the Olmec civilization left behind a powerful cultural legacy that inspired the rise of several successor states. One of the earliest and most influential of these was Teotihuacan, located in the Valley of Mexico. Emerging around 200 BCE and reaching its peak between 300 and 700 CE, Teotihuacan was one of the largest cities in the ancient world, with a population estimated at over 100,000 people. Its carefully planned urban grid, monumental architecture, and advanced social organization demonstrate a level of sophistication rarely matched in pre-industrial societies. The city's layout was meticulously aligned with astronomical phenomena, reflecting the central role of cosmology in Mesoamerican life. The massive Pyramid of the Sun and Pyramid of the Moon dominated the city's skyline, connected by the Grand Avenue of the Dead. These structures were not merely architectural marvels, but sacred spaces where rituals and ceremonies linked the earthly world with the divine cosmos. Teotihuacan's influence extended far beyond the Valley of Mexico. Through trade, diplomacy, and perhaps military power, it established connections with distant regions, including the Maya lowlands and the Gulf Coast. Archaeologists have found Teotihuacan-style pottery and architecture in cities like Tikal and Camino Joliu, suggesting that its political and cultural impact was profound. The city was a melting pot of ethnicities and languages, a cosmopolitan hub where artisans, merchants, and priests lived side by side. The production of obsidian tools and weapons, ceramics, and luxury goods such as jade and shell ornaments fueled its economy.
Yet despite its achievements, Teotihuacan eventually declined, likely due to internal strife, environmental pressures, or social upheaval. By the 8th century, the city was abandoned, but its legacy lived on, influencing later civilizations such as the Toltecs and Aztecs, who revered Teotihuacan as a sacred place, the city where the gods were born.
In the wake of Teotihuacan's decline, new powers emerged in central Mexico, among them the Toltecs, who rose to prominence around the 10th century CE. Their capital, Tula, or Tolan, became the political and cultural center of the region. The Toltecs were renowned for their military might and artistry, blending elements from earlier Mesoamerican cultures into a powerful synthesis. The towering stone warriors of Tula, known as Atlantean figures, symbolized their militaristic and religious ideology. The Toltecs also played a crucial role in shaping the mythology of later civilizations. Their most famous ruler, Topiltzin Quetzalcoatl, became a legendary figure associated with wisdom, civilization, and the feathered serpent deity Quetzalcoatl, a god who would later be central to Aztec religion. When the Toltec civilization eventually collapsed, possibly due to invasions or internal decline, its cultural and mythological influence persisted, setting the stage for the rise of the Aztecs centuries later. Meanwhile, in the Maya region, civilization continued to evolve even after the collapse of many classic cities. During the post-classic period, 900 to 1500 CE, the Maya reorganized themselves into regional kingdoms and city-states such as Chichen Itza, Mayapan, and Uxmal in the Yucatan Peninsula. These centers combined local traditions with influences from central Mexico, evident in their architecture and iconography. Chichen Itza, for instance, display a remarkable blend of Maya and Toltec styles, seen in the famous temple of Kukulkan, El Castillo, a pyramid designed with precise astronomical alignments. During equinoxes, the play of light and shadow creates the illusion of a serpent descending the steps of the temple, a spectacular demonstration of both engineering and spiritual symbolism. This fusion of culture and science reveals the continuing vitality of Mesoamerican thought, where religion, art, and astronomy were inseparable. Farther north, beyond the cultural heartlands of Mesoamerica, complex societies were also emerging in North America. The Mississippian culture, flourishing between 800 and 1600 CE, constructed large earthen mounds and established urban centers such as Cahokia, located near present-day St. Louis. At its height, Cahokia was home to tens of thousands of people and featured monumental structures like Monk's Mound, the largest earthen pyramid in the Americas north of Mexico. The society was organized around chiefdoms, with elaborate trade networks connecting the Great Lakes, the Gulf Coast, and the Appalachian Mountains. The Mississippians developed advanced agricultural systems based on maize cultivation and maintained intricate ceremonial and social hierarchies. Like other ancient American civilizations, they expressed their worldview through art, religion, and architecture, leaving behind a legacy that reveals the sophistication of pre-Columbian North America. While these developments were unfolding in the north, the Andes continued to be a crucible of cultural innovation and political complexity. After the decline of the Chavin, a series of powerful regional cultures emerged, including the Nazca, Moche, Wari, and Tiahuanacu civilizations. Each contributed uniquely to the rich tapestry of Andean civilization. The Nazca, flourishing between 100 BCE and 800 CE in southern Peru, are best known for the enigmatic Nazca lines, vast geoglyphs etched into the desert floor, depicting animals, plants, and geometric shapes. Though their purpose remains debated, many scholars believe they had ritual or astronomical significance, serving as pathways for ceremonies honoring the gods of fertility and water in an arid landscape. The Moche, contemporaneous with the Nazca along the northern coast of Peru, were master artisans and builders. Their adobe pyramids, such as the Huaca del Sol and Huaca de Luna, stand as testaments to their architectural skill. The Moche left behind vivid pottery that provides detailed insights into their daily life, warfare, mythology, and rituals. Their art, more than any written record, tells the story of a society both creative and deeply religious. By the first millennium CE, the highlands of the Andes saw the rise of the Tiahuanacu near Lake Titicaca and the Wari Empire in central Peru.
These two states laid the groundwork for the later unification of the Andes under the Inca Empire. Tiahuanacu was a ceremonial and political center characterized by monumental stone architecture, agricultural terraces, and sophisticated irrigation systems. It served as a religious hub that connected distant communities across the Altiplano, promoting shared beliefs and artistic traditions. The Wari, on the other hand, developed an efficient administrative system, constructing road networks, warehouses, and planned cities, innovations that the Inca would later adopt and expand. The relationship between the Wari and Tiahuanacu remains a subject of debate among historians, but together they represent the first phase of Andean statecraft, showing how religion, economy, and governance intertwined to create enduring political systems.
By the time the Inca began their rise in the 13th century, they inherited a legacy of centuries of cultural experimentation and innovation. The Inca, centered in the city of Cusco, built upon the achievements of their predecessors to forge the largest empire in pre-Columbian America. Their mastery of organization, architecture, and infrastructure transformed the Andean world into a unified state known as Tawantinsuyu, meaning the four regions. Yet before the Inca ascended to dominance, the Andean world was a mosaic of interacting cultures, each contributing to the broader civilization that would later astonish European explorers. The story of the rise of American civilizations is not one of isolation, but of connection and continuity. Trade routes crisscrossed the continents, carrying not only goods, but also ideas, artistic motifs, religious symbols, and technological innovations. From obsidian blades in Mexico to bronze ornaments in the Andes, artifacts reveal an intricate web of cultural exchange that defies the notion of primitive isolation. The absence of metal tools, the wheel, or large domesticated animals did not hinder progress. Rather, it spurred creativity. Ancient American builders developed ingenious techniques for moving stones, constructing roads, and engineering irrigation systems suited to their environments. Their calendars, mathematics, and astronomical observations attest to intellectual sophistication equal to that of their Old World counterparts. Religion and cosmology played a unifying role across these diverse civilizations. Whether among the Maya, the Moche, or the Mississippians, the natural world was viewed as alive with divine energy. Mountains, rivers, and celestial bodies were not inert objects, but living entities that shaped human destiny. The priesthoods of these civilizations served as mediators between the people and the gods, conducting rituals to ensure harmony and fertility. Blood sacrifices, though shocking to modern sensibilities, were expressions of a worldview in which life and death were interconnected aspects of the cosmic order. Through ceremonies, art, and architecture, the ancient Americans sought to align themselves with the rhythms of the universe, maintaining balance between humanity and nature. As societies grew more complex, so too did their systems of governance. Kings, priests, and nobles ruled through a combination of religious authority and administrative control. Tribute systems, labor taxes, and military conquest became means of maintaining order and wealth. In cities like Teotihuacan and Cusco, bureaucratic efficiency and monumental construction reflected centralized power. Yet, unlike the often rigid empires of the Old World, many American civilizations emphasized community cooperation and reciprocity, values deeply rooted in their agricultural traditions. The concept of Aini in Andean culture, meaning mutual aid, illustrates how social bonds and moral obligations were woven into the fabric of governance. The artistic and intellectual achievements of these civilizations were no less remarkable. Pottery, sculpture, and textiles served not only utilitarian functions, but also conveyed spiritual and historical meaning. Mesoamerican codices recorded dynastic histories and astronomical data, while Andean quipus, knotted cords used for record-keeping, represented a unique form of data management. The cityscapes of the Americas, from the stepped pyramids of the Maya to the stone citadels of the Inca, were living expressions of cosmological order, symbolizing the connection between heaven, earth, and the underworld. Even in regions where writing systems did not develop, oral traditions and visual art ensured the continuity of cultural memory.
By the late pre-Columbian period, the Americas were home to an astonishing diversity of civilizations. Each had followed its own path to complexity, shaped by geography, ecology, and history, yet all shared a common drive to understand the world and to leave a lasting mark upon it. The rise of these civilizations was a story of human adaptability, creativity, and resilience. It was a process that took millennia, from small farming villages to vast empires spanning thousands of miles. And though the arrival of Europeans in the 15th and 16th centuries would bring devastating change, the achievements of the ancient Americans remain a testament to the universality of human civilization and the boundless potential of human imagination.
As the second millennium of the Common Era unfolded, the civilizations of the Americas entered an age of empire and expansion. The foundations laid by thousands of years of cultural evolution, agricultural innovation, and spiritual thought culminated in the emergence of two of the greatest pre-Columbian powers, the Aztec Empire of Mesoamerica and the Inca Empire of the Andes. These were societies of immense sophistication and ambition, characterized by complex political systems, monumental architecture, and intricate worldviews that shaped every aspect of daily life. Although separated by geography and distinct in culture, the Aztec and Inca empires shared a profound belief in divine kingship, the cyclical nature of time, and the sanctity of the natural world. Their rise marked the zenith of ancient American civilization before the arrival of European colonization, which would alter the continent's destiny forever. In central Mexico, the Aztecs, known to themselves as the Mexica, emerged from humble beginnings. According to their legends, they were a nomadic people who migrated from a mythical homeland called Aztlan, guided by their god Huitzilopochtli, the deity of war and the sun. Their journey took them across the harsh landscapes of northern Mexico until they reached the Valley of Mexico in the early 14th century. There, after years of struggle and displacement, they settled on an island in Lake Texcoco and founded the city of Tenochtitlan in 1325. What began as a small settlement in a swamp would grow into one of the most magnificent cities of the pre-Columbian world. Through determination, diplomacy, and military prowess, the Aztecs rose from obscurity to dominate Mesoamerica within 2 centuries. The Aztec Empire was not a centralized state in the modern sense, but a confederation led by Tenochtitlan and its allied cities, Texcoco and Tlacopan, known collectively as the Triple Alliance. Under this system, subject cities paid tribute in the form of goods, labor, and captives. The empire's wealth flowed into Tenochtitlan, transforming it into a metropolis of awe-inspiring scale. Built on a network of artificial islands and causeways, the city was crisscrossed by canals and aqueducts that supplied fresh water. Spanish chroniclers who arrived in the early 16th century described it as a city more splendid than any in Europe, with towering temples, bustling markets, and grand palaces. At its heart stood the Templo Mayor, the Great Temple, dedicated to Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc, the rain god. This massive stepped pyramid symbolized the dual forces of life and death, fertility and war that sustained the Aztec cosmos. To the Aztecs, the universe was locked in perpetual struggle between life and death, light and darkness, and human sacrifice was a necessary act to keep the sun moving across the sky. This belief, though often misunderstood by outsiders, reflected a worldview centered on reciprocity between humanity and the divine. Economically, the Aztecs demonstrated extraordinary ingenuity. Despite their watery environment, they transformed the landscape into a highly productive agricultural system through the use of chinampas or floating gardens. These artificial islands, made from layers of mud and vegetation, produced several harvests a year and supported a large population. Trade was another cornerstone of Aztec prosperity. Merchants known as Pochteca traveled across Mesoamerica, bringing luxury goods such as cacao, feathers, jade, and obsidian. Markets like the one at Tlatelolco served as economic and social hubs, drawing tens of thousands of traders and consumers daily. This dynamic economy sustained a population estimated at over 200,000 in Tenochtitlan alone, making it one of the largest cities in the world at the time. Religion permeated every facet of Aztec life, from politics to art.
The pantheon of gods represented natural forces and human emotions, with deities like Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent of wisdom and wind, and Tezcatlipoca, the god of destiny and conflict, embodying the duality of creation and destruction. Festivals, rituals, and ceremonies filled the Aztec calendar, aligning with agricultural cycles and celestial events. The priests, who interpreted omens and conducted ceremonies, wielded immense influence over society. Through their rituals, they reinforced the connection between the emperor and the divine, legitimizing the political order. Art and architecture, rich in symbolism, reflected this spiritual worldview. Murals, sculptures, and codices depicted mythological scenes and cosmic cycles, serving both as aesthetic expressions and sacred texts. The Aztec world was thus an intricate tapestry, where faith, power, and nature were interwoven into a single cosmic vision. While the Aztecs flourished in Mesoamerica, far to the south, the Inca Empire was rising among the towering peaks of the Andes. The Incas, or Tawantinsuyu, as they called their realm, emerged in the highlands of Peru during the 13th century. They were a small highland tribe centered around the city of Cusco, but through a combination of military conquest, strategic alliances, and administrative genius, they built the largest empire in pre-Columbian America. By the early 16th century, the Inca Empire stretched over 4,000 kilometers along the western coast of South America, encompassing modern-day Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. What made the Incas exceptional was not merely their size, but their ability to govern an empire spanning vastly different environments, from coastal deserts to snow-capped mountains and tropical jungles. At the heart of Inca civilization was a centralized state, led by the Sapa Inca, regarded as a divine ruler and the living embodiment of Inti, the sun god. This theocratic system combined religion and governance in a seamless unity, ensuring loyalty through both faith and administrative organization. The Incas developed a highly efficient bureaucracy that managed resources, labor, and communication across their vast territories. The empire was divided into 4 regions, or suyus, each governed by officials who reported directly to Cusco. A complex hierarchy of administrators ensured that taxes, paid in the form of labor known as mita, were collected and redistributed for public works, such as the construction of roads, temples, and storehouses. This labor system not only sustained the economy, but also reinforced communal identity and cooperation, key principles in Andean culture. The Inca achievements in engineering and architecture remain some of the most impressive in human history. They built an extensive road network spanning more than 40,000 kilometers, connecting the most remote corners of the empire. These roads crossed mountains, valleys, and rivers, with suspension bridges made from woven plant fibers and way stations called tambos, providing rest and supplies for travelers. This infrastructure facilitated communication through relay runners, known as chasquis, who carried messages encoded on quipus, knotted cords used for record-keeping and accounting. Even without a written language, the Incas maintained remarkable administrative precision, managing populations, harvests, and military logistics with unparalleled efficiency. Their architectural prowess is immortalized in sites such as Machu Picchu, a mountain citadel that exemplifies the harmonious integration of stone, landscape, and cosmic alignment. Each structure, precisely fitted without mortar, demonstrates a mastery of engineering that has withstood centuries of earthquakes and erosion. Agriculture was the foundation of the Inca economy, and their innovations in this field were extraordinary. They engineered terraced fields that transformed steep mountainsides into productive farmland, conserving soil and water in an environment of extreme altitude. Their irrigation systems captured and distributed water with remarkable efficiency, while their use of diverse microclimates allowed for the cultivation of hundreds of plant species, including maize, potatoes, quinoa, and coca. The Incas also domesticated llamas and alpacas, which provided wool, meat, and transport across rugged terrain. These agricultural advancements sustained a population of millions and ensured the empire's stability.
Religion, as in Mesoamerica, was central to Inca life. The sun, moon, stars, and mountains were all revered as sacred beings. The Temple of the Sun in Cusco stood as the spiritual heart of the empire, its walls adorned with gold to reflect the light of Inti. Festivals and ceremonies such as Inti Raymi celebrated the solstices and agricultural cycles, reinforcing the cosmic connection between the ruler, the land, and the heavens. Ancestor worship was another key element of Inca spirituality. The mummified remains of former rulers were treated as living beings, consulted for guidance, and honored in elaborate rituals. This reverence for ancestors underscored the continuity of life and leadership, linking the past and present in an unbroken chain. Despite their achievements, the Inca Empire, like all great civilizations, was not immune to internal challenges. Succession disputes, local resistance, and the sheer scale of the empire posed ongoing difficulties. When Spanish conquistadors, led by Francisco Pizarro, arrived in 1532, they encountered an empire weakened by civil war between two rival heirs, Atahualpa and Huáscar. This division, combined with European diseases and superior weaponry, facilitated the rapid downfall of the Inca state. Similarly, in Mesoamerica, the Aztec Empire faced its own catastrophic encounter with the Spanish under Hernán Cortés in 1519. Despite fierce resistance, alliances between the Spaniards and discontented subject peoples led to the fall of Tenochtitlan in 1521. The conquest of these two great empires marked the end of an era, but their cultural and spiritual legacies endured long after their political collapse. The rise and fall of the Aztec and Inca empires symbolized the culmination of thousands of years of indigenous innovation and adaptation in the Americas. These civilizations were not isolated marvels, but part of a long continuum of human progress that began with the first settlers crossing into the continent during the Ice Age. From the Olmecs and Maya to the Chavin and Moche, each culture contributed to the collective advancement of American civilization. The Aztec mastery of urban planning and the Inca genius for organization represent the pinnacle of that journey, a testament to humanity's ability to thrive in harmony with nature and to create order out of diversity. The legacy of ancient American civilizations continues to influence the modern world in profound ways. Their agricultural innovations introduced crops like maize, potatoes, tomatoes, and cacao, which became staples of global diets. Their art, architecture, and cosmology continue to inspire contemporary culture and scholarship. Indigenous languages, traditions, and rituals survive in communities across the Americas, preserving fragments of their ancestral wisdom. In recent decades, archaeological discoveries and advances in technology have deepened our understanding of their accomplishments, revealing a complexity that challenges old stereotypes of the so-called New World. Far from being primitive or isolated, these civilizations were dynamic, interconnected, and intellectually sophisticated. In reflecting upon the rise of ancient American civilizations, one is struck by the universality of human aspiration. Across oceans and millennia, people sought to understand their place in the cosmos, to build communities, and to leave enduring monuments of their existence. The peoples of the Americas achieved this with remarkable creativity, guided by their own vision of order, balance, and harmony. Their story is a reminder that civilization is not confined to a single continent or tradition. It is a shared human endeavor, shaped by the diverse landscapes and imaginations of the world's peoples. The rise of the ancient American civilizations stands as one of history's greatest epics, a saga of resilience, invention, and spiritual depth that continues to echo through time, reminding us of the boundless potential of humanity when guided by vision and purpose.